Hey guys, so what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be doing lesson 11.1 activity, looking at details. Now, when you are an author, many authors think very carefully about what is important to include in their narrative and what information they can leave out. When I read that, it's in my direction book, I kind of thought back to if you've ever seen Transformers 2, when Agent Simmons, he was talking to the one robot in the museum. He was like, let's not get episodic, okay? Eltimer, beginning, middle, end, facts, details, condense, plot, tell it. What he's saying is sometimes when we write, we go off on a tangent and we put in information that we don't need. When we write a narrative, you have a beginning, middle, and end. You put in the most important information, and you may stick in just a little bit of something that may not be needed. But what you're doing is you stick in the important information, you have some support, and then you move on. Some stuff you can leave out. So, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be looking at important details throughout the story. And what you're going to be looking at is this page right here. It says, as a group, and you're by yourself, so it's not maybe your parent, reread aloud the 6 paragraphs from You're Under Arrest, starting with next stop was Empire Theater. So that would be right here. So you will start here. All right. This up here, I'm going to model it for you just to show you what we're going to be doing. So that's the first part. On reader page 40 and ending with I never thought hard of them at the, I'm sorry, let me start all over again. I never thought hard of them at all and never even bothered to criticize them, which is on page 43. So we're going to end, let's find that, page 43. And this is where we end. So we're looking at 6 paragraphs. That's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 paragraphs. All right. Take turns reading. Afterwards, in your group, use the chart. This is the chart. And make a list of details Rosa Parks includes in her paragraph from You're Under Arrest. Now, so what we're going to be looking at, and I'm just going to pull this away, because the first thing we're going to do is I am going to model for you what exactly we're looking for. So what we're looking for are details that are important to the story that Miss Rosa Parks, could not leave out to get her point across. That is exactly what we are looking for. So in the first 2 paragraphs, we're going to be working with those together. But the first thing I want to do about these paragraphs is I want to go over the vocabulary, just of these 2, and then we'll stop every time we have something else. So if you look, we have fair and vacant. I paid my fare. The word fare, if you haven't guessed already, is payment to enter or use. That's your fare. You pay a fare. This is a simile to, no, it's not a simile. I said simile because I got to do that next. This is a sentence, oh my word. It's a homophone to fair, F-A-I-R, to the fair that's not coming this year, or that it's not fair that something happened. So it's a homophone. After 3 tries, I finally get it out. Okay, vacant, right here. Vacant, you should know what vacant means. It means empty. A vacant building, empty. Usually they're run down, or They're just not being used. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is when you infer, everyone has their own mind. They think differently. One person may think a quote means one thing, another may think it means something totally different. And that's okay, because there is not necessarily a single correct inference about any detail. But that being said, there are some incorrect ones. But as long as you're getting around the same kind of, if you're in the same ballpark per se about what it may mean, then that's okay. But if you have one that's totally out in left field, it went over the fence, then we may need to double check. So, for example, it says Rosa Parks describes her brief conversation with the driver as the only words we said to each other. She also writes that she did not speak during the ride to City Hall in the police car. Inference A, why she included this, was to show the reader how nervous she was. But somebody else said she included this to show the reader that she was in peaceful protest. She didn't want to yell, she didn't want to argue. For me, I would probably have chosen that she was nervous or she was just so angry she didn't want to talk. Because when I get angry, I don't want to talk. I walk away because I'm always afraid that I want to say something that's going to haunt me later. So I just do that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through this, the first two paragraphs together, and then we'll just walk through it. Okay, so we're looking for details that basically could not be left out of this story. Very important details. Now, one of the very things that so what we're going to be doing is looking for I'm trying to find my page, I'm sorry. Oops. And as we're doing this, I'm also going to be asking just like questions. And I know I can't hear you, but you can answer yourself, okay? All right, the very first thing we're going to be looking at the first paragraph. And the very first thing, the quote from the text that we need to pay attention to is that she included this part. I didn't look to see who was driving when I got on, but by the time I recognized him, I'd already paid my fare. All right, now that is an important fact. Okay, and I'm going to label this as number 1 because it's my first fact. All right, now this is also a skill called note taking that we're going to use. So you will use this later on. Now, it was the same driver who had put me back off of the bus in 1943, 12 years earlier. So she sees this guy, and she automatically is like, oh, wait, that's the same guy who was rude to me 12 years ago. And if you recall, that's in the story on, I'm trying to find the title. It's hard to do this. Not Just Another Little Girl. It's in that story about how the bus driver, I'm sorry, I had a parent phone call. So I didn't look to see who was driving when I got on. By the time I recognized him, I'd already paid my fare. All right. Then the next thing, and my highlighter, go get it. The next detail we're going to be looking at is she put this in here, is there was a man sitting next to the window and two women across the aisle. So let's think, why do you think she would put that information in there? Why do you think she would put that information in there? Okay, so we're going to look right here. Now, since we've highlighted the text right here, and we numbered it, when it comes to the quote from the text, we can just do, we're going to do like the first two words. I didn't, ... end quote, and we're just going to put 1. Okay. So basically what we're doing is we're going to give a detail, and we have to give a quote from the text and infer why that detail is in there. So one of the details was she didn't or did not check who the bus driver was. She didn't do that. And from the text, we went back and we read right there. I didn't look to see who the bus driver was when I got on, but by the time I recognized him, I'd already paid my fare. Another detail that she included was there were other passengers sitting in the middle. Now, what she meant, and I misspelled passenger, sorry. What she meant by this was saying she wasn't the only person or African American sitting in this middle section. There were a few other people. And those other people were, as you can see, there was a man and then two women sitting across the aisle. So that's number 2. All right, now what I want you to do is to infer why she did this. For example, number 1, I did not check who the driver was. And I didn't check who the driver was when I got on. Why do you think she included this? Why do you think she included this? Well, it explains the fact why she boarded the bus driven by the main driver. So she's given us a background of the fact that she knows who this driver is. This driver gave her problems 12 years ago. So she is giving us a background of that information. Why do you think she put in there that she was sitting in the middle section, but she wasn't the only one sitting in the middle section? Think about it. Is it important to know where people are in a situation like this? It is. So what Miss Parks was doing is she was describing where she sat. Okay, it's describing where she sat on the bus. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is we are going to be looking at the next 6 paragraphs and finding how many are there total. Let me look. I think there's like 9. There's 8. Okay. So we're going to be looking for 6 more. So maybe 1 in each paragraph. So let's have a look. One second. It's hard to do stuff when you have a cast on your hand. All right. So, says number 3. Why do you think she included this information? So the next stop was the Empire Theater, and some whites got on. They filled up the white seats, and one man was left standing. Okay. That's a detail that Miss Parks included. That detail tells us why the bus filled up. Why the bus filled up. So what you would do, it's on your paper. Right here. So why the bus was filling up. Okay, so they filled ... there, and this is number 3. Why do you think she included that information? Why do you think she included that information? Why do you think she included that information? Well, she did that to explain why the driver wanted the front seats, Miss Parks, and the other blacks were sitting in. Okay, it explains why she had to get up and move. Okay, so we're going to move on. Now remember, if you don't have time to write, you can always pause the video. Okay, so we're going to do some more details. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you the detail. Okay, I'm going to write it down for you. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go through the text and you are going to find where that detail comes from. Now remember, when you do this, you can highlight or underline it if you don't have a highlighter at home. Or in fact, a yellow marker does the same thing as a yellow highlighter. I learned that. I'm going to give you the facts or the details, and you have to find the quote. All right, and just to help you out, I'll tell you what paragraph they're in, okay? So this would be quote number 4, okay? Quote number 4 is in paragraph 4, actually. It's in paragraph 4, so you can just look there. Number 5 is in paragraph 5. And number 6 is actually in paragraph 7. And 7 and 8 are actually in the same paragraph. So they're in paragraph 8 and paragraph 8. Okay, so I've given you some help here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you the detail. So detail number 4 is what the other 3 passengers on the same row did. So you're going to be looking for text evidence that tells me what the other 3 passengers did. And you're going to tell me why she included it. Okay, number 5. She was working age, and only mentally tired. Now, what that means is when you are physically tired, your body, you know what that feels like. Your body's just tired. You just want to lay down. Mentally, it's kind of like she's done all the thinking she can do today. It's kind of how you feel after you take tests all day. You are mentally tired. You don't want to make any more decisions. So give me the quote from the text and why did she include it? Detail number 6, she, when we say she, we're talking about Miss Rosa Parks, did not back down or overthink her decision. Now remember, her decision was not to move. Her decision was not to move. Number 8, the bus quieted down. Okay, tell me the evidence and tell me why you think that did. And Miss Parks was the only one arrested. Okay, give me text evidence, and finally, give me your inference. So if you need to, you will need to. You'll need to copy all this down, and then go back in your reader, underline where you found it. Wait, I got to think about this because I need to see that you underlined it. Um. Okay, here's what you're going to need to do for this. Okay, just hear me out for a second. What I need for you to do is you can tear this out of your book, your packet, the reader right here. You can tear this out of your reader, and what you're going to do is you're going to bring this back with your weekly packet next week, okay? Or if you want to, your parents can take a picture on their phone, just like this. So they'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, no, they'll have 1, 2, 3 pictures they could take. This picture, and that picture to show me proof that you underlined everything. Now, that shows that you did this. Make sure you include the first 2 or 3 words in the sentence, like the man, ... I just gave you that answer. And then tell me your inference. And that is all for your reading part today with your video. So do that, and then I'll be making a video on your similes and metaphors.